What's going on, everyone? This is Dr. Mephisto, and welcome to this new episode of The Ride, last episode of the second season. We're here today in Toronto, and it's the end of the summer, but the guest I'm getting today, oh boy, is probably my favorite DJ producer of Afro House today. He's originally from South Africa, and I can't wait for you to discover him. Today is a little special. I'm testing a new format. You can find a bonus story on our Patreon page. You'll find the link down below. We are basically going through a few of this artist's new sound released and unreleased, and I invite you to go check our Patreon page and also subscribe to the channel to get all the new videos. And let's go, enjoy. Mr. Boddhi Satva.
I guess that's my name.
You good? What's your real name?
My real name? Let me see.
You don't have to if you don't want.
I need to close the door better.
Press the button here.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, there you go.
Here you go, technology. My real name is Armani.
Armani?
Armani.
Armani.
Like brand.
Nice.
Like George Armani.
Alright, so the way we usually start is you give us a quick introduction for people who don't know you.
Alright. Well, Boddhi Satva, born and raised in Central African Republic, Bangui, capital city. Born in Bangui, the capital city, raised in Bria, eastern side of the country, and my father was Central African French. My mother is Belgian American. I moved to Belgium in 2000, Brussels, then Liège, then Brussels again until 2017, where I decided to relocate to Lisbon, Portugal.
Cool.
So
real estate reasons, or
not at all, man. just a necessary change of air, and you know, living 17 years in the country is, I think, more than enough.
right.
I'm the kind of person I don't have a problem standing still. I mean, staying in the same place. Sorry, not standing still, but staying in the same place for a while. But there's a point I need a change. So I think, you know, 17 was more than enough.
Right.
And yeah, Lisbon was a calling. You know, I've been traveling to Portugal and Portuguese-speaking countries for over 11 years. So it's
there you go.
it just made sense for me to make that move and decide to relocate. You know.
Makes sense. So yeah, so you're doing a little bit of music.
Yeah, you know, I'm just one of those guys, you know, just like acting like I'm a producer and shit, you know. Can we curse on your show? No?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
All right. So I'm a music producer and a DJ. I guess I started definitely as a DJ, you know, sort of like, you know, playing for different parties and, you know, birthday celebrations and stuff. When I was really young in Central African Republic, and then you know, the music production came in kind of early as well, with a sampling sort of thing. Even though I didn't have a sampler back home, I mean, as in, you know, MPC and stuff like that, I still messed around with some softwares. I can't even remember the name of the softwares, but it was just like one of those DAWs that allowed you to like sort of like chop and, you know. So yeah, but you know, when I moved to Belgium in 2000, that's when you know, production became something that was going to be apparently part of my daily life.
Right.
And yeah, man, I mean, it's been my everyday hustle since then. Even though I moved to Belgium to continue my studies, eventually I ended up not pursuing that.
What did you study?
I was well, in French we call it. I was just passing my terminal.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, baccalaureate, but you know, I don't know. I guess it's college, not whatever. It may
Oh,
be.
so terminal is like the end of high school, basically.
Yeah, high school, exactly. Yeah. So, which I missed dramatically. But you know, I mean, I didn't succeed. And then I got school was just not for me, man. You know.
Yeah.
I was smart, working probably more than most of the guys, but I just wasn't, you know, it just wasn't working. So
Right.
you know, music became, before music in the meantime I was my first job was a diamond cutter.
Diamond cutter.
Yeah,
Oh,
I used
okay.
to be a diamond cutter. Yeah, so that's my first profession.
Are
And,
you still cutting diamond, but with notes?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm making diamonds through the music, you know, which is pretty amazing.
So when did you release your first
Project?
Yeah.
Damn, man, that's a good question. Well, it was with my big brother Alton Miller from Detroit, one of the legends of deep house music from Detroit. One of the pioneers actually of that sound in Detroit. And we released this project called Prelude to Emotion on Atal Music.
Okay.
Big shout out to Alexandre Escolier, who is still my publisher to this day, 18 years later.
Loyalty.
And, yeah, man. But not just loyalty, because loyalty for your loyalty, I don't believe in that. But loyalty, because you gotta earn the loyalty, but you also have to make sure that you treat people properly.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, there's only so much people can be loyal for. But yeah, so yeah, loyalty, it's a very important thing. And there, this first project came out in 2000, I believe 2000, I would say 2005, 2005, 2006. Even though I was working on music before that, the first release per se was in 2006.
And so who were you said that was your big brother, but who was your biggest influence as a DJ?
It still is my big brother, he's still alive.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of influences, man. I mean, as far as like influences concerned, I mean, you obviously have, you know, Alton, and not only just influences, but people that were my all-time heroes, but also people that I managed to end up working with as well.
Right.
You know, so you have Alton, you have Shun Lade,
Right.
Louis Vega, who so basically, after I worked with Alton, we did 2 projects together that came out on Atal Music. Then I did a couple of remixes for the labels like, you know, Bradford James, Seed Recordings out of Boston. It was a remix of one of his joints that he did with Quentin Harris at the time. That was like, you know, the beginning, and you know, it was sort of like introducing my sound and, you know, my name in the scene. And you know, so, you know, managed to work with Ushulade, have him become a mentor as well. Released my first solo project, Bria's Offering. Then, you know, linked up with Louis Vega, who also became a mentor and my executive producer for my first album.
Right.
So, you know, it's been amazing. But I do have quite a few. I mean, and outside of the music, you know, outside of the house music and the soulful house and Afro house, whatever, you know, I also have like all the, you know, great friends and mentors, you know, Keisha, you know, couple of guys that have been you know, close to me and helped pave the way, and with whom I'm continuing to, you know.
Keisha, French Keisha, Zouk,
yeah, not
singer,
not Keisha, whatever that girl is. Yeah, no. Keisha, the famously known for the Zouk and Kizomba. Yeah.
Right.
Even though he's a super talented guy, man, he can literally touch anything. I mean, very few people know that Keisha was one of the fathers of. I mean, I want to. Yeah, well, he's actually the father, pretty much, of Kizomba. That's without a doubt. But you know, he's part of the guys that helped, you know, pave the way for the French rap. You know, back in the early days with NTM and all these, you know, all these guys, all this big era of the the 90s, late 80s, beginning of 90s rap and hip hop. I mean, yeah, man. People don't have an idea, but which is also part of the legacy. You gotta make sure that you also let people discover with time eventually, and keep your head down and just do what you do best, which is manifesting your talent through your art and stuff.
Yeah, which is completely opposite of what's happening today, where everybody needs to show what they're doing, etc.
Well, I mean, it's necessary because of the social media thing, and
right.
it's becoming a situation where you have to, it's funny because social media is really based on showing your best self,
right?
Which tends to be a bit of a pressure, actually.
Yeah. It's like dating everybody.
It's like what?
Dating everybody. When you start dating, you need to show your best self.
Well, I guess it's part of it, right? People have a thing for showing what they want others to see.
Right.
Which is what everybody do, as human beings. It's hard to be yourself. It's easier to be another persona or a better version of yourself. On pictures.
Don't tell me. Okay, hold on. Before we jump into the deeper stuff, I want to finish with all the basic questions.
Let's go. We're here for that.
How do you define your sound? Because you talked about coming up with your sound and everything. How do you define it for people who don't know it?
Well, I mean, so when I started, there was no qualification for the kind of sound I was doing. It was part of the house music, movement and sound, but it was African house music. So then the term Afro house, which was starting to really become, a little bit spread out,
right,
came across. But early on, and we're talking about 2002, I was like, no, I need to give this a completely different name, and I need to name my production something, because I know it's out of the box, it's different than what's being done at that time, right? And probably to this day as well, to a certain extent. But bottom line, I came up with Ancestral Soul because I firmly believe in grounding my music with the wealth of the ancestral heritage, and I'm talking about cultures in general, but precisely African cultures, and as in Africa, the continent. And soul because it was obviously the soul to soul, but also soul as in the more modern sounds, with that soul in the American sense of the of the term, where it's like there's groove, there's soul, there's modernity. So it's pretty much ancient meets new,
right?
That thing, and that's what it came. It came about to become Ancestral Soul because of that desire to connect those worlds, and also to connect the underground with the mainstream. Because I've always been a fan of some mainstream music, and what we so-called now like the 90s hip hop and stuff. Back then was also rather mainstream, right? And some of it probably was cheesy at the time, but now people listen to that with nostalgia, right? So I have nothing against mainstream music, even though some of it is really watered down. But I'm talking about good mainstream music. Yeah, that's what I've always been about. I've always been about bridging that gap. So to do that, I was doing those remixes, remixing artists like Tracy Chapman, Rihanna, So Ancestral Soul is really, besides being what I just described, it's also a movement kind of thing. It's a way of making music, and it's interesting because it helped a lot of guys identify to it as well. People that didn't understand, that didn't feel too connected with the Afro house thing, that was not yet defined. So to make things simple, my music is under the umbrella Afro house, but I would even call it the mother of Afro house, of modern Afro house.
Right.
because from that moment, a lot of things shifted.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of producers came about around the same time, guys that are now, you know, super big, you know. So, and I know that Ancestral Soul influenced them in many ways. Even though it might have not been their style of music or whatever, it still, you know, helped bring about something.
Opens the door.
Yeah, exactly. And also, you know, being associated with Shunlade, with, you know, Louis Vega, having done, you know, works for the likes of Tony Humphries. Back in the days, Tony Humphries had this label called Yellow Orange that was not operating anymore. But then they did this release by this guy Mustafa, Circles, release for which I did a remix, and then that. So those type of things, crossovers and stuff, allowed to really open up the sound and introduce people a wider audience of producers, and also, you know, house dancers and just music lovers in general.
I was gonna talk about that after.
Yeah.
Because you have a connection to the dance community. I saw you recently in Baba's live video.
yeah. That was a long live too. we went deep on that one. Bab's son. Yeah, man. I mean, look, the dancer community is definitely one of my hardcore, you know, fan base and musical family, you know.
Right.
I mean,
everywhere.
Well, it's a worldwide thing. I mean, big shout out to the dancers, because again, if it wasn't because of the dancers, in a way, my music would have probably not been so popular. I mean, popular. Let's you know, let's keep things in perspective. It would have not necessarily crossed the borders that it has crossed so far. The dancers definitely played a big role in that.
Well, we thank you so much, because we play a lot of your music here.
Oh, man, I appreciate that, man. And you know, that's funny as well. In the beginning, I didn't understand how people could play my music, because I always felt that it was a bit strange, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just had this weird, you know, I mean, I like what I do, but I would always find it surprising that people would say, oh man, I love this or that song by you. And I was like, really? Okay, you play that? Oh, okay, cool. You know, it's a funny thing, man. So yeah, no.
But that's the thing, it's actually speaking to everyone. To a lot of people.
I have to say yes. I mean, but I don't have a problem with this speaking to everyone. As a matter of fact, that's the point. You know, I've never believed in elite music, in the sense that I obviously love my complex key progressions and, you know, complex melodies and stuff, and this and that and the other. But at the same time, my father used to tell me one thing. He said, you know, son, I love your music, but it's too complicated.
Really?
Yeah. And I got pissed when he said that. But, you know, my father being my father, and, you know, with the education that I have, I would never say. I got mad, but I didn't say anything. I was just like, fuck, man. Inside of me, I was like, shit. You know, he ain't getting it, man. You know, my father doesn't get it. But then, you know what? When my father passed away is when I did my second album in tribute to him. And that's when I unlocked spiritually and also creatively what he meant by that. It wasn't so much like that he wanted me to make commercial sounds or anything like that. It was just like, keep on doing what you do, but open the format. And until I had to go through that very, very difficult time, and having to, like, you know, isolate myself to create that second album in his memory, is when everything unlocked. Like, there's certain songs on this album, and I was like, before, I swear to God, I could not even technically create those songs, but they just came about. And after that, you know, it opened the doors for everything else that followed, you know.
Yeah, those moments that unlocks everything, eh? Shit, I was gonna ask something. Yeah, when you say you don't believe in elites, what do you mean?
You know, there is a big problem that we have in the soulful and the house music industry in general. It's there's, like, you know, we're the real heads, and there's y'all. You know, there's like, yeah, whatever, you're not on our level. Just because they don't necessarily have the education, or they don't necessarily have, that's contemptuous.
Oh, okay.
You know?
So you're talking about purist.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an elite.
Well, okay. Let me clarify why I'm asking this. I went to Herbie Hancock's concert recently in Toronto, and after it was like a 2-hour concert, even more. And after an hour, a lot of people started leaving. A lot of people started leaving the room, and I didn't. In the beginning, I was like, "What the hell are they leaving?" Like, and at some point, you realize that people are used to a certain type of music with a lot of. It's an easy type of music with a lot of loops, a lot of repetition. And Herbie Hancock is extremely complex.
Extremely complex.
And it's overwhelming.
Yes.
And I understand why certain people, especially that came with kids, left.
No, it's not easy.
It's too much information.
Maybe not. You see, the thing is that we live in a world where now people are just not willing to make the effort of just, opening up their minds.
Or maybe they're not there.
Well, I mean, yeah. Either way, there's definitely a disconnect somewhere. But at the same time, that's also the problem when you open up the art to a wider audience. You're gonna have people who don't get shit from. They don't understand nothing from it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's okay. Those ones. I'm not. When I talk about purists, Herbie Hancock doesn't even cross my mind in that sense, because for me, that's a completely different ballgame. Like, it's not. This is not bad purism, should I say? It's not. It's not a bad elite in the sense that it is complex music, and you need that kind of music, and you need this kind of musicians to keep pushing that envelope forward. But I'm talking about mostly this outlook some of us have towards those who are not necessarily listening to the obviously Herbie Hancock, or who wouldn't know necessarily about a Kai Alce or Alta Miller, or you know what I mean, some songs that are not necessarily mainstream. I think there's music for everybody, and I also firmly believe that with the right amount of humility, and obviously it takes patience, you can get a lot more people acquainted and to connect with your music than you might imagine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If you were just not that fucking stuck up on your bullshit, and it's like, yeah, no, I mean, again, to each his own. Some guys, they just want to stay obscure. They don't want to do anything with anybody. They're happy that their music is played in a club for 5 or 10 people, or 100 or 2. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I play those clubs as well, but I play other clubs as well. I play venues of 60,000 people. Yeah, you're bragging now. No, I'm not bragging. I worked my way towards that. Oh, but how did you had to sell out? I didn't have to sell out shit, man.
So where did you draw the line of selling out for you?
Selling out is not doing something. Is doing something you don't believe in, and
right.
And act like you love it.
Right.
Selling out is compromising with
yourself.
With yourself.
Right.
On things that you shouldn't compromise with.
Right.
But yet again, people evolve.
AKA prostitution.
Well, I mean, sometimes prostitution is justified.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not for it.
No.
But there's different forms of prostitution.
Yeah.
And who am I to judge somebody? I may not be cool with that way of doing things, and with but it is what it is.
I'm playing devil's advocate saying this.
100%. No. Oh, yo, me, as I said, if there's one thing about me, I'm a guy. I'm very open for conversations, and I'm all about sharing philosophical ideas on the topic, or because it's nobody knows it all. And yeah, your way might work, and your way might be amazing because you're staying true to yourself. But if staying true to yourself means you're stubborn and you're not evolving, and you can barely pay your bills, or you can't even pay your bills with what you're doing, and then you complain that others will do what they love just like you are able to pay their bills, and you know what I mean? It becomes like a whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, they'll sell out, I heard him play there, and he played his set was this and that. Dude, with all due respect, yes, I agree, some DJs do exaggerate. They'll go completely away from what, you know, they've been known for. But it's part of evolution,
Right.
know? So there's nothing we can really do against that, because everybody evolves in different ways, you know. Now, could they actually do 30 minutes of that sound that they're doing for the type of crowd they're playing, and then 30 minutes of the sound that their fans love? Of course they could, but then maybe they don't want to.
Right.
So, again, you know, compromising is necessary, but up to a certain limit. And I can tell you, I mean, when I started to make these R&B remixes and stuff, oh my God, I received so much hate from the, you know, soulful and the purist, and you know, they were not hitting me directly because they don't know, nobody comes, you know, frontal with that shit, which is funny, but you know, and we could have had a very balanced conversation about it, and I could have explained to them exactly why I made the move. You know, when I'm working with guys like Davido, or I'm doing you know, remixes of songs by Rihanna, or you know, A AP Ferg or whatever, like, whoa, this music has no soul, it has no message. Dude, who gives a shit, bro? That's what the people want to hear. So the way I'm now flipping it up is adding substance to it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to add my own substance to it, my own, you know, like I'm adding meat.
Yeah, there's a lot of musicians that start with this, bringing like a commercial, opening with the commercial side, and then brought what they really had to say later. Like you take MC Solar, for example, Bouche de la, that wasn't the most
yo, talking about MC Solar. Yeah, but yo, hold on.
Right.
It was sophisticated, man. The flow was crazy.
Yeah, definitely. But
you know?
yeah.
But I understand what you mean, though. But I mean, it's you know, there's nothing wrong in making something that becomes popular, man. And this is the whole thing, right? This whole mentality of this so-called underground is very funny to me, because it's like we are best friends for as long as we stay on the same level, or you're up and coming.
Right.
If you grow a little bit bigger than me, I'll be fine. But if you go too big, then, you know, oh man, come on, man, you know, it's not the same. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, nah. You can't impeach it. It is what it is. But it is a mindset that is rather boring.
So, okay, so maybe it's a tough question. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Where is the moment? If let's say if you take that commercial side and you're compromising with something.
Is it compromising though? But go ahead.
So what you said is like when you compromise with yourself. The thing is, I see a lot of artists that are doing shitty music and they get a lot of attention from it. So it kind of like counterbalance this thing. You're compromising yourself. You get a lot of attention that make you feel good. How do you get out of this fog? This illusion thing. How do you realize that?
But being a purist is an illusion as well, man.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's just that one appears to be. It's like rich and poor. Rich fun and poor fun is the same thing, with just different toys.
Right.
Yeah, I'm having more fun because I'm in my yard and I have the chopper and I have this and I have that. Really? You might. For how long? Yeah, just like the poor. Oh, you know, it's okay, I'm having my little... So there's got to be a balance. What is happiness? It's not material, first of all. So if you're doing something expecting to be happy because you know you're going to generate more materialistic returns, then obviously you didn't fucking get it from the get-go, in my opinion. So it's not so much about, you know, disconnecting or sort of like trying to check yourself into reality, if in the first place your intention is not to find happiness, but just understanding that where you are is a natural progression of your creativity. You know, it's almost like it's almost like a person that's seducing you that you're not really fond of, that's not necessarily your style of person in terms of looks, whatever, but that person is so nice, you know, is really caring, and it grows on you.
Right.
and you picture yourself like, fuck, damn, no, I can't be. I'm starting to like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this girl is this or this guy is this or, you know, God, and then you end up kissing that person, and then you end up, you know, slipping, and then you're like, shit, no. You did it, man. It's a natural progression of things. It grows on you. Just like, you know, I have a friend of mine.
So hold on, because the question is, how do you come back to it? How do you?
Hold on, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. How do you come back to where? Because you want to come back to where you started, as in you lost your way and you need to find your way back.
Yeah.
But you only lose your way when you give into the whole fame thing.
Right.
And fame is what it is. It's momentary. It's not forever, man. I remember when I arrived in Miami, the first time was in 2000. I mean, the first time was not 2009. The first time I got to Miami was 2004, 2005. But at the time, I only knew it was DJ Pipi from Ibiza who actually invited me there, and you know, it was him, Pierre Ravon. I mean, I was introduced by those guys to, like, you know, the likes of Gregory, Martin Solveig and all that, but didn't give a fuck. I mean, Gregory has always been cool with me because he knew Alton Miller and whatever, but all the other guys didn't give a shit about me. I was just one of those kids just trying to, you know, introduce himself and give promos out. But when I arrived in 2009 in Miami, then finally, as you know, after the music that I've released and stuff, and I started playing all these parties, I became the talk of the WMC. Oh my God, you see this kid? Damn, this and that and the other. I was the talk of the WMC 2009. But you only knew once. You the hot thing in the hood once. I mean, you can continue being relevant, but that sentiment of newness, of freshness, yeah, that feeling, I'm talking about the first time, is one time.
Yeah.
But if you get hooked on that stupidly, then you screwing up yourself. You know? So how do you come back to who you truly are? Is by first and foremost doing your best not to be anyone else but yourself. You see, success is a magnifying lens of your true personality.
Right.
If you're a dick, you'll be a serious fucking dick. Even more than what people could have even suspected. If you're a nice person, you might stay a nice person. Now, another thing, you see, on your way up to success, obviously not everybody's happy for that, right?
Yeah.
So we just spoke about. It's like, not everybody will want you to succeed or is happy for your success, even though they may say it, it's not necessarily true. All right. So eventually, as you evolve, you're like, yo, man, I'm gonna change who I am. Yo, this is a guy or a girl or people that I've started with, and the bigger I got or the greater I got into what I do, they started thinking that I was changing when I was just being the same guy, but with different reality around him, you know. But I was still the same guy. Yo, fam, I'm still here, man. You still can call me. Or, I mean, I have this I have this friend of mine. He's very funny. He said he's very funny. Coming and say, "Oh, you're big time now. When I call you don't have time to respond." And I checked him out. I said, "Look, let me tell you something, man. You know, now you're talking to me, right? So you try to call me 5 times in the past month. I wasn't able to reach back to you because I was busy, right? Eventually, I tried to call you back. You didn't get back to me, whatever. But now you're talking to me. So if I was big time and thinking that I was better than you, you think I would be talking to you right now? No, so it's, you know, realities changes things. You know, experience also happened to change things. You know, when you're being backstabbed by people that, you know, you've truly appreciated, or you've considered friends and stuff like that. And not necessarily backstab, but just like starting to feel like, shit, man, hold on. This person does really take a fucking piss. You feel me? It's like, hold on. All right. Well, if the people close to me are like that, I'm going to have to adapt and change.
Yeah.
So I understand what you meant. I carried the conversation a little bit away,
okay.
but it's still connected though, because it's all about staying true to yourself. But that's also staying true to yourself, because yourself is not a monolith, right? It always evolves. You're a multi-dimensional being, so within that multi-dimensional perspective and reality, you must understand what it is that you are and who it is that you are, but also adapt to the situation you're in. So I'm sorry if you treat me like a dickhead. Believe me, I will treat you accordingly. I'm a very simple. For this, it's very black and white.
Amen.
I'm a nice person by nature. Talk to me off, I will talk to you off. Always with class and respect, but my respect, varies depending on how you approach me.
Yep.
I will always be respectful. I will never talk bad or never. Some people think that because you're known, they have to come at you and start talking to you and talking down.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, first of all, if I address myself to you, or if I treated you in a way that makes you feel that you should behave in that sense, in that way with me. So yeah, again, it's all about knowing who you are. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't know who they are. They don't take the time to find out who they are, or even if they do, it's sometimes too hard to see who you truly are. And you think that success is going to help you become a better person or whatever, but it's not like that, man. And if you think that fame is going to help you, fame is only but it's going to expose your insecurities and your true self.
Yeah, I mean it's overwhelming, like especially with the world today, like where you're accessible from everywhere, constantly. You get like feedback, aggressive feedback, very good feedback all the time. It must be overwhelming. I mean, I'm not there, but I can imagine.
No, I mean, yeah, it is. It can be overwhelming, but when you don't, in my case, I've reached such a level of I don't give a fuck that you can make the comments you want. If they're relevant, I'll take them. If they're not, I'm just gonna be like, all right, thanks.
Yeah. So how do you separate the feedback from what's really coming from haters, that really constructive feedback? Sometimes it's hard to.
But okay, for that, right? I agree with you, but I like haters, man. You know what? Because haters, sometimes in their hate, they tell you some truth, and you have to be humble enough to accept to listen to this kind of truth, because it's almost like, all right, let me listen to what you have to say. And then, it's like, yeah, you changed this, your music, your sound. I've listened to your some song that you did like 10 years ago, and what you do now. Oh my God, it's completely different. It's more commercial. It's more this. It's more that. And it's like, all right, cool. Are you done? Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not really happy with that, and all right. So when you're done, let me know. When the person is done, you're like, all right, cool. So basically, you're trying to tell me that you're not happy with what I'm doing now, but you used to like what I did. Fantastic. Keep on listening to what I used to do, and let those who enjoy what I'm doing now enjoy it. If that music is there, it's for you to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's funny because some people complain that artists are just doing the same shit over and over.
Is it? I don't know. I mean, eventually, yeah. I mean, what else do you want to do? I mean, there's only so much you can do as far as reinventing yourself. That's
what I'm saying. Like, some people don't reinvent themselves, and they take the formula of something that worked and just,
keep
warming
on
up,
over and over
warming
and
up
over
again and again. Reinventing yourself, it must be very, very difficult. I see that in dance. Like, a lot of my teachers, their style evolved over the years. And I remember, let's take Mamson, for example. I remember him talking to me and saying that at some point he just stopped using all the steps he were doing and came up with new stuff because all the kids that he was teaching know them, and
it became boring.
Needed to, yeah,
you have to, man. You have to step your game up all the time. So of course, refreshing yourself, your envelope, your sound, your brand is by far the hardest thing to do. But at the same time, it's such a beautiful thing to do. you know, because it's forcing you to come out of your comfort zone, man, and sometimes come up with some really interesting stuff or some really like messed up music, and you're like, nah. I want to stick to what I do until, you know, it's a very spiritual thing, man. Music is a massively spiritual thing. You cannot force inspiration. It doesn't happen like that.
What's your stance on the importance of failing?
Oh man, failing as in failure, right?
Yeah.
It's important. I used to feel like the way I guess a lot of us was raised is that failure is a bad thing. You know, you can't fail. But eventually, you know, as you grow and the world we're in now is like, you know what? Actually, you told me that I couldn't fail, but yet you failed exactly X amount of time before you became that successful.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna tell me that failing didn't teach you anything?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've learned a lot from my peers. I've learned a lot from people's experiences. People telling me. I've always been a good listener and taking in a lot of advices. You know.
Yeah, man, listening is difficult, especially I'm seeing that especially as an artist. You need to build up your ego.
You need to build up your ego?
No, I mean, like your ego gets built up over like all the bad experiences, and it's difficult to like lower those shields and taking it, whatever, going through the pain instead of like shielding yourself.
Yeah, I understand.
You know
I mean, no, it's like, you know, it's like when you go to the restaurant with people, you don't have much money, but you have a little bit, and then, you know, obviously because it's a nice restaurant, not fancy, but it's a nice restaurant. The people, the bartender or the barman, whatever, comes to offer you, like, you ask for wine, they give you that a bottle of wine that's, you know, peculiar type, and when you're looking at the price, you're like, shit, that's a $60 bottle of wine. Like, shit, my budget is. And then you're looking at the food, and you're like, but then you can't look cheap, right? So that's peer pressure. So imagine that at a level that's like times 100, where you have that kind of success, and you portray this the image of that successful guy or girl. You know, now you got the Porsche, or you got the Tesla, or whatever the case may be, right? And then shit goes slow, because that's how life is.
Yeah.
You're gonna have ups and downs, but you have to maintain that lifestyle, because you've accustomed people to see you always being on top, and this and that and the other, and even when things were not too good, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a social construct that we are all a victim of, one way or the other, and especially as artists, it gets pushed to extremes. You know, because there's this whole appearance, and, you know, I gotta have this, I gotta look like that, and I gotta stay on top of fashion. And look, man, and even when some guys don't have it, they go out of their ways to get it. Which, I mean, you gotta do it eventually. You know, it's a question of image and what you believe in. You know, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
But it does work, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it does work. I mean, I've never really had to fake anything, but, you know, at a certain point, I've realized that my brand, I just wanted to change things up a little bit, you know. So me, I'm a big amateur of, I love cloth. I love, you know, couture, not in the sense of like, you know, haute couture or anything like that, even though I appreciate that as well. But, you know, sewing, you know, tailor-made stuff,
right?
Sartorial, that's really my thing, you know. As much as I like the more casual stuff as well, but I love like fine stuff, you know. I decided to like started taking my shirts, the making of my shirts, to the next level. So I went to this, you know, maître couturier, expert in like, you know, made to measure tailoring, making my shirts there. It was costing me a certain price, but I knew that my shirts would be unique, would be fitting me the way I wanted them to fit me, and was part of a brand that I'm refreshing.
Yeah.
So it's not, so yeah, it might be fancy for a lot of people, but it actually is part of a global vision that you have for yourself. And unless people have the opportunity to be answer to those questions they may have, you know, you're only going to be appearing as, oh, he changed or she changed, or now it got to the head. You're only wearing, you know, tailor-made this, tailor-made that, and it's like, no. I mean, as a matter of fact, I mean, I'm wearing regular shit as well, you know. But it is in the construct of their mind that you know, because you're known, you're popular. Oh shit, you know, that's the lifestyle you have every day. Like some people do think you sipping champagne every day, or you sleep in the bubble. Dude, I'm sorry, but I do pee the same way as you do. I mean, sorry for, you know, saddening you with this news, but you know, I sweat just like you. I mean, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Do you see though, like, one thing that you think that being there changed you in a way that you didn't want it to?
Being where? In the success?
Like, yeah, getting more the popularity of music and all that stuff.
And do you think? Did I think what? Can you repeat?
Do you think there's a way? There's something that changed in you that you didn't want it to change, basically? Like, you wish it didn't.
I was going to speak to you in French. It's not so much success, but it is because of success in a way, or what appears to be success. But it's what people do to you, or try to do to you, or say, just like I said earlier, you know, the type of betrayals and stuff like that. And that turned me into a much more colder person.
Right.
I became super fucking cool. Like, I'm a warm guy. I'm really cool until I mean, as I said, you know, it goes 0 to 100 very quickly, because I don't have time to waste with bullshit. Like, it's honestly, and oh my God, this is not spiritual. Now, believe me, it is. I have no space in my life for nonsense. So unfortunately, I wish I had not become like that, and I wish that my personal experiences and heartaches and business failures and stuff like that, and people failing me as well, whatever, or me failing people, I don't know, the whole thingy had not changed me to the point of me becoming much, I wouldn't say heartless, but much more cold.
Secluded, maybe, too. Like,
certainly.
Yeah.
Even though I'm still very accessible, you can talk to me like, you know, we always known each other until I don't give you that access anymore. You know?
Right.
For me, it's very, it came to that point. And believe me, I can see shades of grays, and I understand the whole, you know, nothing is just black and white, 100%. But there's a point I have to draw the line.
Yeah.
You know? So in other words, I wish everything was, you know, beautiful. You truly love and appreciate my work, and you know, we're always gonna be best friends. Nah, man.
And
it doesn't work like that. People change as well. So changes you.
Yeah, it's true. See you getting a nice little tour of Toronto.
I'm appreciating that. You know, you're allowing me to see more of the city.
So you last time I saw you here, was it your first time in Toronto? You came?
No, it was my third time in Toronto. My third or fourth time, I believe. I would say fourth time, yeah, because I played with Giorgio Flores.
Right.
First time, yeah.
Yeah, Toronto changed a lot in the past 7 years. It's there's more people now, so there's more music lovers. That's my feeling, and they're bringing all those artists now. Before it was really different. There was a lot of like big concerts and big venues, which I don't appreciate too much. Like, coming from Paris, you have so many artists that plays in smaller venues where the experience is better, right? Like you get closer to what the artist is trying to say.
I guess, yeah. I've not experienced Paris like that neither, so I wouldn't be able to testify 100%. But I believe you're right, because that's what I've been hearing as well from people who've experienced Paris in that sense. But I mean, you see, no matter what, unfortunately, so far we can acknowledge that fact that our music, Afro House per se, is still not getting the justice that it deserves. You know, the very people that have been part of helping this movement get to a certain point, turn them back to it, embrace other sounds, which is okay, which is normal. I mean, you have to evolve. You know, like Afro House is that girl that it's that prostitute that you fancy, and you're like, damn, she's got all the features and assets you want to you aspire to have on your side. You know, it's that beautiful chick or whatever. But it's also that chick that's, you know, it's that, you know, you can't trust.
Right.
You can't actually trust her. It's just that, you know, because of the way she looks, you're scared to present her to your mom, and for your mom to tell you, I don't want this kind of, you know, dolls.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that dirty little secret you want to keep. You know, but you always come back to her no matter what, because, you know.
Oh, you have to explain more about this because I'm not sure I follow.
Yeah, I know you don't follow. Believe me.
What do you mean, like?
A lot of producers, a lot of my good friends have gotten their exposure, their fame because of Afro House.
Okay.
Right? The moment they got to a certain level, and I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing shades at anybody because, you know, you're free to do what you want to do. It's just that the way they flip their shit and they kind of turn their back to the sound.
Yeah, I see what you mean now.
You feel me? and don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand the move because it's a business move. Right. It's also a creative move. Some guys just wanted to just, but then I'm seeing some of them now recently coming back to it again, and I'm like, okay, oh, interesting.
That's what you played last time.
Yes. And it's like I get it, you know. But again, you know, I think that thankfully, you know, there's still, you know, some people out there like yourself and many others who like the sound and who play it and, you know, make sure that it's not incorporated with this whole new labeling now that people have is Afrobeats. No. This is no Afrobeats. This is Afro House. This is, you know what I mean? Keeping the label authentic and understanding that, you know, that sound has fathered a lot of the sounds that are now popular. You know.
I thought you were gonna kind of like go into, a lot of artists went from Afro House to go into like the hardcore electronic tech kind of like industry where, you know, like that scene pays really well, and now you're just doing this, basically. Yeah,
I mean, you know. You want me to drop names? That's what.
No. That's. I just want to understand that I understood the idea.
Well, look. Again, it goes back to compromising, right?
Right.
And it goes back to how much compromise are you willing to do to achieve what you want to achieve. And again, you know, as I said, there's certain things you have to do if you want to. If you want to have a certain lifestyle, there's certain things you got to do. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, however, not giving the credit to the sound that helped you get there and get to the position where you can make a choice between that and the other. That's where I have a problem. And I'm like, nah, man, can't do that. You know what I mean? It's more so acknowledge, at least, you know. And understand that, you know, there's pride in embracing a movement that has embraced, loved, and supported you. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, I understand. Look, bro, I mean, don't get me wrong, not to cut you. Huh? I love Bentleys and Rolls Royce and all that shit. I mean, I like that shit. You know, it's cool. It's nice. Affording the private jets and all that thing. That's great, you know. Super dope. I've experienced it several times. It's like, damn, as we say in French, c'est grisant. You know, it's like, damn, wow. You know? And then you go to VIP and then, you know, you got all the best tables and all the best girls and guys, whatever you're into, coming along, and, you know, you become the center of attention. But for how long? Yeah. And what does it take, you know? So again, not throwing shades, and by saying what I'm saying, I'm not trying to say that, oh, I'm not throwing shades at anybody. I really do mean it. Like, I understand and respect the moves that everybody's doing, you know. But all I'm saying is that give credit where it's due. That's all I'm saying. You know, I'm a bit of a, how do you call this, militant. You know, activist. I'm a bit of an activist for this sound, you know, because it's a sound that, you know, yeah, man. Ancestral Soul, Afro House, all that shit is powerful, man. It saved a lot of people's life, man. It saved my life.
Right.
You know, literally. I mean, you know, you know, when things were not, you know, great, music was there for me. And don't get me wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm the true example of what I'm saying. As a creative, as a musician, as a producer, I make trap music. I make all sorts of sounds, but I never stray away from.
Right.
But that's me.
On the roots, yeah.
And I can't demand that from others. But at least acknowledge what, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, I see that even in dance, man. Like, there's always this fight about, oh, you know, you don't give credit to your teachers, blah blah blah. You know, that's a recurring topic, man. I definitely can see that.
That's another one too, man. The dancers community is a very interesting community, man. There's a lot of hate in the dancers.
There's a lot of hate.
It's crazy, man, and so many beefs. You know, everybody's beefing for something, and it's like, God, man, you know, y'all grown mofos, man. There's no need for none of that. So it's so good. But I understand, and again, I get the whole thing. I do. I do 100%. But
you know, sometimes it's also part of the code sometimes.
But you know what? It's good, huh?
Yeah.
It is good. All those little beefs and shit, as stupid as they are,
it's entertaining.
It's actually good because it keeps the movement. It actually allows for the movement to get, you know, bigger and much more interesting.
Yeah, but for what reason though?
For sake of entertainment. You know?
Okay, so last question for me, like, that's the thing about entertainment. Like, you have entertainment, it's like you have organic food and you have non-manufactured processed food. You have the stuff that's good for you, the stuff that is it's not that good. So entertainment that produce something good and organic and good for you, and you have the stuff that comes from like the dark side of your persona, you know. So I don't know.
But
I guess it's a little bit of both.
It's which one you fit in, you know. I'm a very nice guy, I think, but I think I have a lot of violence in me as well.
Right.
You know. And one of the things that allowed me to control that was martial arts, for example. I practiced Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for 6 years. I compete, you know, well, I used to compete. I stopped competing about 2.5 years ago. But, you know, so it helped me, and it helps me, you know, tone down some aspects. Or not even tone down, because it's not like I want to kill the world. No, but it's more like, you know, we all have an enlightened and a dark inside of our personalities. And which one of these two animals are you feeding? You know, I'm choosing to feed the enlightened one. I'm choosing to not put myself in a situation where I'm exposed to vulnerabilities when it comes to my darkened side. Not saying that I'm scared of it, but I appreciate it. I respect it. Sometimes it's important to let it come out a little bit so that people know that, hey, there's a limit.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but I believe that, you know, it all comes down to knowing who you are. So this conversation is really about knowledge of self. Success is not what you see, man.
Yeah.
Is how you feel about yourself. Do you feel good? When you wake up in the morning, do you give thanks? We take so many things for granted, man. Breathing. And I'm not saying this because we're on camera and it's your show and it's not, man. Breathing. being alive. You know, we take that shit for granted when we shouldn't. We don't know how long we're here for, man. Let's focus on that and less on the nonsense. You know, let's focus on being good to ourselves first, and then good to others. And you know what? By saying that, I don't mean that if you slap me, I want to give you my other chick. I'll punch you so that you understand to never try that again. But I will punch you with love. And there will always be love in my heart, and you will understand that me and you, we can always be cool, but never go there again. And that's the mentality. It's like, set your boundaries so that you don't have to become an asshole. You know, and also make sure that you never become an asshole, because there's no need to be an asshole.
And on that note, we'll be grateful for your music tonight.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys supporting, and I appreciate you guys coming through. I mean, thank you for the opportunity of being on your show. Being on your show, sorry. I mean, I think that's pretty cool what you're doing. The whole Tesla experience, by the way, is really cool. It's my first time in the Tesla, and I actually like it, because it really feels like you're in your living room. Like, seriously, it's very comfortable, and it's like,
I haven't give you the full test drive because I haven't accelerated, really.
Yo.
But I can't really do that right now, but maybe later.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have time later, but I mean, we have time. We can hook it up. Let's see what's up. But no, I appreciate the work, and I mean the drive around Toronto, and yeah, man, you guys continue supporting the music, and and again, on our side, we will do our best to support you guys as well. I mean, I think it goes both ways. One hand washes the other, and both wash the face. So it's all about understanding the value of looking out for the movement, because it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about the future and what's going to come out of this. Because if we are structured in a way that is proactive, we will no longer have to deal with being broke, not being able to afford paying our bills at the end of the month. For a lot of guys, it's a hustle. I mean, even myself, I mean, I'm really thankful I'm able to to pay my bills with the music, but it's got to get to a point where we can afford the livelihoods of our peers in South Africa, for example. Even though it's a different monetary system, the rand is lower than the euro and the dollar. But I mean, you got to see, man. It's amazing to see what house music is doing there.
That's one of my dreams, to go to South Africa, actually.
I mean, you see, Kulu the Song, Black Koffee, you name them. Those guys, Black Koffee, worldwide exploded, as we all know, is huge. But not even just South Africa. Jeff Afrozila, Jeff, all those guys, extremely successful brothers. They're doing very well for themselves. And it's amazing to see. And at the same time, the music is valued to a level that's incredible, man. Whereas here, it's almost like, you're, as we say in French, quantité négligeable. You're just nothing. Whatever, you're just a little, it's not valued.
Yeah.
But I think that's because we're not working enough towards making sure that it's being valued.
Yeah, but I don't even know if France is known to be a real musical country.
I'm not talking about France, huh? I'm talking about like globally.
Oh, right.
There's one country that has the potential. Yeah, there's one country, in my opinion, that really has the potential, and I think if it's well organized, and we're gonna work towards that, because I live there now, it's Portugal. Lisbon, in my opinion, is the #1 capital for Afro house music in Europe, and probably, yeah.
And just to be clear, when I say about France, whenever you're musical, I'm talking about the deep culture. The culture of French culture, not necessarily like the thing that people are doing in the underground scene. Of course, like it's very rich.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, it's not. But as much as it's very rich, I mean, France right now is not really known to be super super leading the market of groundbreaking,
music,
sounds, maybe it's more gonna be like Amsterdam or London or freaking, you know, Lisbon, for example. Lisbon sound is really taking over big time, you know, with this whole like baile funk thingy, and you know, that's Brazil, but I mean, still, you know, it's pretty interesting how this whole thing is moving, man. And again, it could be another hour of conversation, but I mean, as you said, man, it's, you know, there's wealth everywhere. We just have to value what we got, and we have to make sure that it goes beyond our real.
All right, I'm gonna finish the first part, and I want to do something special for this episode, actually.